Today we are going to review how to use various tools and techniques in Illustrator. These are things we covered in Digital Design 1, but some of you may have forgotten them, so we're going to do a quick refresher. So first things first, remember you have your left-hand panel. You can click the little arrow and stack them side by side so it's easier to see your options. If you do not see all of the options that I'm seeing on the left, you can come to Window on the top, and you can go to your toolbars and make sure advanced is selected. Sometimes it defaults to basic, but you want to be on advanced. Also, you can see that I've got my navigator over here. That lives under window as well. Everything's in alphabetical order. You just come down and click on it and it will open over here. And then you can move around. So the first thing we want to do is we want to trace this apple with the pen tool using a blue fill and an orange stroke. So down here, you have your stroke and fill, but when you trace, you typically want your fill to be none. That's this little icon right here. Your pen tool is the third down on the left. And to make curves, you click and let go to get your little point, and then you click and hold to get the curve. And you move that handlebar around until you've got your curve. Then remember, you have to get rid of the bottom half of that handlebar. So you click and let go on the point, and it disappears. So click and hold, click and let go, click and hold, click and let go, click and hold, click and let go. And you can see I'm not hugging the corners of the apple that tightly. That's because I just want to give you a quick refresher of how to do things. So this is a quick pen tool trace of the apple, and it said it wanted a blue fill and an orange stroke of 3 point. So let's review how to do that. So I'm going to take my black selection arrow, highlight my outline. I'm going to double click here and pick blue. I'm going to double click on my stroke and select an orange. And then it asked for a 3 point. So I need to find my stroke. If you don't see stroke over here on the right, come to Window and open it up. And then with your object highlighted, you can just click the up arrow until your stroke size is a 3. So that's the outline of the apple. Now, if I had wanted to trace the leaf, I would want to move this out of the way first, because if not, when I go to trace with my pen tool, it's going to try to intersect. Also, remember, you always want none in your fill when you go to trace something, otherwise it will fill in the space as you go and kind of block out what you were looking for. All right, we'll just finish this guy up real quick and throw him on this apple. And remember, your eyedropper, when you have something selected, you can click on a similar item that you want that color and it will pick it up. Okay, so now this one's new. It says image trace this image to black and white. We did not complete this task when we were in Digital Design 1. So number 2 and number 3 are going to be new for you. So the first thing you need to do is unlock the exam layer, click on it, and then you can use your black selection arrow to click on the dog's face. So this says image trace this image to black and white. If you do not see image trace on the right, again, go to Window, open it up. So with this highlighted, I'm going to come to my image trace and I'm going to click on the default arrow and I'm looking for black and white. So I've got black and white logo. I'm going to click on that and look at how it altered my dog. Now I can change the threshold and now you're starting to see some of his features come back in. I mean, if I go all the way to the right, he basically disappears. There's just some eyebrows there. So you can play around with that and adjust it as you go, but this is a nice way to grab the general makeup of an image and immediately turn it into a pen tool shape. So I'm sure you're mad at me that I didn't show you how to do this in first semester, but some, good things come to those who wait. So now that we've got a decent image of the dog, I want to break this into pieces so I can change the color. So I have to click my black selection arrow, highlight my dog, and I can go object. No. Where do I want to go? So I want to go to Object, Expand, just say OK when this box appears. And then I can right click and ungroup it. I'm going to have to do that twice. Now if I click off and click back on, you can see just his ear is highlighted. I'm going to double click on my fill color, grab some purple, but see how it went gray? That's because when I image traced it, I did it in black and white. So now I have to open up my color. See how everything's grayscale? And I have to tell it to be RGB. So that's the one downside to tracing something black and white, is you're going to have to keep going back and forth, hitting the 3 little lines, picking the RGB. But aside from that, it traced it really fast, and I can also move pieces around. Like maybe I want this on my apple for some reason. Oh, it's on another layer, so you can't see it. My bad. So that's a real quick and easy way to trace things. Another option is to trace things in color, and then we don't have to keep going back to color and making it black and white. So I'm going to highlight this face right here, and I'm going to image trace it with a max, where's my image trace, of 12. So I've got this highlighted. Why is it not? So now I have this highlighted. I'm going to come to image trace default, and I'm going to start with 16 colors. It told me to make it 12. So right here on colors, I can move the threshold down to 12. And you can see she kind of looks like a topographical map now, but it took away the pixels. This is all vector now, so it made it a lot smoother. But once again, the whole thing is a solid piece. So I'm going to have to Object, Expand, OK, right click, ungroup, right click, ungroup, click off. Now I can click on individual pieces and I can either move them, perhaps I want them on another image, or I can double click and change colors. Maybe I want to change the shades of her face and slowly turn her purple or something. There's a lot of options for this. Now let's say that all I wanted to do was make her cheek purple, and now I want to move her somewhere else to another document. I can use my black selection arrow and click and highlight all of this, and then I can either go Control G on my keyboard, or I can right click group. And now she's one solid piece that I can move around. So the image trace tool is really neat. It has a lot of different functions. I would recommend that you play with all of the different options and see which ones you personally like. Okay. The next thing we want a refresher on is writing your name on a path. So remember, with the type tool, if you click and hold, you have type on a path. And you always want to start at the beginning of the path. So I started drawing this path on the left, brought it to the right. So that means you want to click and let go on the left of the path. And then you get that lorem ipsum everywhere. So you can type your name over and over, and it will type along the path. You can also open your character and make that font size larger so it doesn't take 20 minutes to write your name. You can pick a cool font. So you've got some options with it. Remember too, you can highlight sections and change the color and get different effects with your type on the path. Okay, the last thing, well, okay, second to last thing. Create a gradient fill in the box that runs from red to violet to blue. Illustrator has updated their gradient and it's pretty fabulous. So highlight the rectangle, and underneath your stroke and fill, you have that little grayscale gradient. Click on that and it will put a gradient on it. I'm going to pull this out so you can see my options. So first off, I wanted this to go red to violet to blue. So I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to take this white and drag it to the middle. And then I'm going to click right here underneath the slider bar. See that plus sign that appears? I'm going to click and let go. So I'm going to click inside that radio button. I'm going to my color, I'm going to pull it down, and I'm going to get red. Now I'm going to click on my white, and I'm going to get violet. I'm going to click on my, oops, I added one. If you add an extra, you just click and drag down to get rid of it. Now I'm going to click on the black and get blue. So now I have a red to violet to blue gradient. Now, with this highlighted, notice these options right here. So if I click on this gradient, this angle, I can change the direction the gradient's going. I can also move the diamonds around or the radio buttons around to get a different effect. I can also click on the center option here and it will give it a radial gradient, which is really good if you're making a sphere, you want 3D. And then the third one is the freeform gradient. Notice these little buttons that appeared here. I can move those and I can expand them, or I can, it'll let me grab it again, shrink them. Well, it's being difficult. I can't shrink that one. But this is a new feature that's a lot of fun to play with. You can also highlight a section and go grab another color. So now I just made that one green. So this is really nice if you're trying to shade something and make it look more believable, more three-dimensional. I would definitely use the freeform gradient tool. All right. Now we're going to ungroup the text and edit the shape and the color of each letter. So I'm going to take my black selection arrow, highlight VHS, which I just typed with the regular type tool. And now I'm going to right-click on it and create outlines. Right-click again and ungroup. Sometimes you have to right-click twice. That one worked on one time. So now I can separate my text with the black selection arrow. I can change scale. I can rotate. Maybe we'll put this sideways, upside down. So you've got some different options. Of course, you can always go in and change colors. I think that just makes it easier to see what you're working with. And then to edit the shape of a color, we'll make this be big here for a second. To edit the shape of it, you would go back to your pen tool, click and hold and get the delete anchor point. And then if you click right on top of these points, it will alter the exterior edge of your shape. So that's a really sad bee now. All right, so that's your refresher along with some new things about Illustrator. If you have any questions or you forget how to do something, just pop back to this video and it will remind you of what to do.